I went to Central State University in Ohio, which was a historically black college. I lived in a dormitory 4 years, never had a white roommate, always had black roommates. In the 4 years, I only had 2 white teachers. All the rest of my teachers were black. And living with these people day after day after day, sleeping in the same room with the guy, going to eat the cafeteria, and usually the only white person at the table. I was hearing a new language. I was hearing new music I'd never heard before. It was a different life altogether. Within a few miles of the campus that I could go and sit down in a restaurant and be served, and they couldn't. Well, just thinking about all the things I could do and the people who were just as good as me that I lived with every day, ate with, studied with, learned from, couldn't. And I just didn't think that was right. And then in '61, the Congress of Racial Equality, which was based in New York, decided to do this thing they were going to call a freedom ride. And they were going to integrate every bus station they could where they stopped. The bus was burned in Anniston, Alabama. They decided to give it up because it was too dangerous. But a young lady named Diane Nash, who was a student at Tennessee State University in Nashville, got in touch with college campuses all over the country, especially black colleges, and said, we're going to continue this. We're going to Jackson, Mississippi, and we're going to go in the white waiting rooms and sit down until they arrest us. A friend and I both decided we were going to go. We flew to Atlanta and then to Montgomery, and we got picked up by a man at the airport, and he took us to this house. The house was surrounded by men in uniform with guns, even had machine guns set up behind sandbags, and went to the front door and went in, and sitting on the couch there was Abernathy and King and William Sloane Coffey. We spent 3 days there, and we weren't sure what to do. Here's 2 white guys, and what are we going to do? They kept asking us, do you realize what you're getting into? Do you realize you're definitely going to go to jail, and you could be beaten, you could be killed. Are you ready for that? We went into the Trailways bus station in Montgomery, Alabama. When we got on the bus, they had probably a half a dozen or so National Guards on the bus with their rifles and fixed bayonets. And we had probably a dozen vehicles that escorted us, military and state police. And they escorted us all the way to the Mississippi state line. It was very quiet on the bus. There wasn't a whole lot of talking. We were I think we were all a little apprehensive about what was going to happen. We arrived at the bus station in the early afternoon, Jackson, Mississippi, which was probably at that time the most segregated place in North America. We got off the bus, went into the waiting room that had on the door, it said white persons only, and then there was another door right next to it that said colored persons only. We all went in the white one and sat down together in a row of seats. And Captain James Ray, he walked along in front of us, and he said, I'm giving you one warning. Move on, get out of this room right now. And nobody budged. So the guys came along, they started taking the black kids by the hand and standing them up and putting them in a line, putting handcuffs on them. And I don't know if they didn't think I was a part of it or what, but they did everybody but me. Even the other white guy got handcuffs put on him. So I said, wait a minute, I'm a part of this group. So we were taken off to jail, where we spent the rest of Sunday in booking cells. And then at 9 o'clock the next morning, we went to court. The judge started out by saying, first of all, I want you to know this case has nothing to do with civil rights or race. This is purely a matter of people coming into this town to disturb the peace and quiet of the city. The trial lasted for all 6 of us. It lasted maybe 10 minutes, and we were all sentenced to 90 days and so many dollars. I forget what the dollars were. And we were sent to the city jail, the Jackson Police Department city jail. The blacks were sent to the county jail, which was a real dump across the street. We had been in there for about a week and a half when as we were sitting talking one day, we were saying, what can we, it seems like really a waste of time to just be sitting here in jail. What could we do to move the cause along? We called Robert Kennedy's office, and we told him that we were not going to allow any food in our cell until the government took action to integrate the travel facilities immediately. And we didn't. We went 7 days without a drop of food or anything other than water in our cell. And on the 7th day, which was a Saturday, the Attorney General's office called us and said there will be an order issued the first week in September that every bus, train, and plane in the United States and every facility, waiting room, such restrooms, have to have a sign saying service is without regard to race, creed, or color. And it will be strictly enforced, and it'll all be in place by November. So we had a big party that night and ate. After another week or so, after our hunger strike, they woke us all up about 4 o'clock in the morning and said, we're going to Parchman. Parchman's the state penitentiary, a real hellhole in the northern part of the state, several-hour drive. What that happened was the county jail got so crowded and the city jail got so crowded that they really couldn't arrest any more people. So they rented the maximum security unit from the state. Another one of our students from Central State was arrested, and he handed me a letter from my wife telling me that she was next door. I was arrested on the 28th of May and she was arrested on June 9th. I thought it was every American's fight. When we were doing it, we weren't sure how successful it was going to be, but we knew it was something. Once we started it, we had to finish it. And regardless of what they did to us, we had to make sure that it worked out for the benefit of America.